Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit. I am entering the wonderful world of YouTube Cam LPs. Oh, actually, that's not true. This is the broken starting screen for Gnomeregan. Now, I say broken for a few reasons. That's one of them. Let's just say about 3 million would be a conservative number LUA errors before this. Yeah, that was a problem as well. And the fact that normally you cannot select this character at all. You can't select any gnomes on the server as of the time of making this video, because I think they've just put this in and it doesn't work properly yet. However, there is a sneaky workaround. If you have no characters on one of the server and you create one, it will be forced to use that one. So, whereas if I've got a list of characters, I can't click on the gnome one. If I click it, I get an LUA error and it kicks me off to another character. If there's nothing on that server and you create a gnome character, that is what it will be forced to use. I don't know how long that error is going to be around. I'd imagine not too long, but whatever the case, I believe this would make me one of the first to make my way into Gnomeregan. So, welcome indeed. There is a starting cinematic. It's a little bit broken. Needless to say, the voice work isn't really all there yet, so I have provided my own interpretation. Enjoy. The gnomish race evolved from a flesh-eating parasite, a titan bioweapon designed to eat the kneecaps of even the most powerful and deadly races. Upon achieving sentience, the gnomish race, possessing ancient technological knowledge, eternal malice, and nasty, pointy teeth, dedicated themselves to being the biggest, or should I say, smallest annoyance they could be upon the civilized races of Azeroth. As parasites, bacteria, and viruses have the tendency to do, the gnomish race multiplied, despite all efforts to the contrary. Now you too can play this most evil of races, as they inflict pain and suffering upon the innocent trogs of the land. I am informed that that interpretation of the lore was 100% canon, and is stamped with the approval of Chris Metzen, who right now is on his way to my house to stab me in the face. Welcome to Gnomeregan! Yes, indeed. It's a little bit messy, isn't it? There's a war going on, leper gnomes all over the place. That's okay, because we have laser guns by the looks of it. I rolled a gnome priest for obvious reasons. We've seen that before in the old starting zone. I decided I'd do it again, just for the sake of it. I appear to be irradiated, which is a little unfortunate. Might have to do something about that. Just having a look around the area right now. Our little hospital area there appears to be under attack by these things, so we're going to get them out of the way first. Now, you don't spend as much time as you might think within Gnomeregan initially. There's a lot of stuff coming with this, and some of this also seems to tie into Operation Gnomeregan, which was supposed to be a pre-Cataclysm event, and most likely still will be. So I don't know how much of this is final. It is a beta, or a beta, or if you wish to pronounce it correctly in terms of the ancient Greek, a veta. Or is it a vita? I can't recall. My ancient Greek was never that great. Whatever the case, you can quit whining. Some of this is most likely going to change, and this came in today, I believe. Right. So we've managed to fend off those gnomes. We're going to use this teleport homing device in order to catapult them through the warp, hopefully not get them eaten by ravening chaos demons, and we can get on our way after that. That's one. Now, bear in mind, there's not an awful lot of survivors here. You might wonder why exactly we're here in the first place. Well, you'll find out. There is an element of the story. It all makes sense after a while. Now, you may have noticed that we didn't get any counters for that. That's because the quest text is a little, well, let's just say it's not particularly descriptive, per se. It says rescue survivors. It doesn't tell you which ones. And the map, as you can see in the corner there, is completely broken and unfinished. So we had to try and figure out exactly where we were going here. This place is a goddamn war zone between the leper gnomes and SAFE. I couldn't find any reference to SAFE. I don't know what it stands for, but whatever. I'm sure someone can point it out. My Google foo was weak in this scenario. Aha! There you are. Some terrified survivors by the looks of it. Let's get them out of here. Out you go. Fantastic. That's not too difficult at all. Those guys are just wandering around doing nothing. Apparently they are beyond help. Oh dear. Okay, we'll speed all this up a little bit. Because the map was incomplete, I have cut out a bunch of running around trying to find where I was supposed to go. Quest text gives you a rough idea, but this is a multi-layered area that I'm not familiar with. So there we go. We are now back where we should be. There we go. I've dealt with the survivors, so what next? Well, as it turns out, we're irradiated, and we can't go to the surface until we get that sorted out. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. All we need to do is head on into the Decontamination room. We need to find a Sanitron 500, and then we can get things started off. This doesn't look remotely safe. This gives me flashbacks to the Goblin Zone. I'm still in therapy for that. This is surrounded by Tesla coils and guns and... it's horribly unpleasant. There's a teleportation specialist. We'll be dealing with him in just a moment. Aha, there they are. I see with my small stature I wasn't able to see them. Aha! Oh dear. I'm not liking the look of this one bit. Shooting me with laser beams I don't think is going to get me clean at all. Might dissolve me, maybe. Well, I am a gnome. I do deserve it. Oh, Totalbiscuit, you're such a Horde fanboy. Oh. I'm sorry, but if you really like gnomes, then go see a doctor. I think that's some kind of condition that you can get fixed. You just have to take powerful, powerful sedatives. Fantastic. We are now squeaky clean with a new dress. We are ready to be the belle of the ball. And this is the last you see of Gnomeregan for a little while, as it happens. You are forced to leave. I believe you get to go back here later, but not as part of the 1 to 5 starting zone, which is what this video encompasses. And here we go. This is the commander of the Safe Forces, and we are on the surface. Go and speak to various folks about readjustment to life here. Looks like we're going to be hanging around for a while. Well, first things first, let's go see the doctor. This is handy, as the doctor is in fact the priest trainer, sends you straight there. Not that you need it at level 2, you don't learn anything yet, but hey. What I want to show you is this. Look at that. He's kitted out. I wouldn't mess with that. Slice your toes off. Couple of vendors, a few trainees all around the place. The remains of what appears to be some kind of gnomish spider tank. Doesn't look like it's working too well. And ahoy ahoy. I don't know too much about Alliance lore, but I'm fairly sure that Mechatalk is the king of the gnomes. There you go. Nice bit of conversation here. You might want to be reading that at the bottom. Good bit of lore. You'll get some more, don't worry. Now, this zone has some very cool comparisons to the Troll starting zone in the way that you interact with major lore characters. I think you're going to like it an awful lot. It's very nicely put together across the board. Some really fun stuff. Interesting. So apparently what's going on is Thermoplug. Well, he seems to be still around, and his henchmen are doing dirty, dirty deeds. We'll get involved in sorting those out a little bit later on. In the meantime, Priest Trainer, who appears to have some kind of robotic chain scalpel. I don't trust that one bit. Just make sure that I don't get injured, so I won't have to be operated on by her. Ah, excellent. So apparently, despite the fact that he's running a war effort to try and get his irradiated capital back, he's got time to talk to the little guy. What a swell individual. I have to say, though, if you outfitted your troops with something a little bit better than a Force Reactive Disc and a Core Marksman's Rifle from level 60, you might have more luck. Okay, lore time. Who cares about gnomish lore? Somebody? Anybody? No? Okay, you're watching it anyway. There you go. So, Operation Gnomeregan apparently didn't go quite as planned. Thermal plug is still there, and nonsense continues to go on. Apparently, killing him 1,000 times in the old Gnomeregan was merely a setback. In the meantime, however, we are only level 2, so I don't think we're going to be taking him on just yet. We have things that we need to help out with. Regardless of how cool this starting zone is, there's still a few go pick up these kind of quests. Totally reasonable. This zone does give a fairly good account as to the number of different quests available in the game, so I can't really complain. No bombing run, which is kind of odd. I would have thought they'd have done something with that, but bear in mind this is only level 1 to 5, so perhaps we can expect things like that later on. It's a very cool area, no doubt about that. Although still a little toxic by the looks of it. Nasty air vents coming through the floor from Gnomeregan. It's hardly a place you'd like to live right now. I will speed up all of this, for obvious reasons. I must attest Gnomish lore could be quite interesting if I could be bothered to look at it. I did try once. I ended up feeling dirty. To wash myself in acid. Still didn't get the stink off. There we go. Little bit of a jog. It's mostly because I've got short legs. Now what this should do is give you some kind of skateboard. Rocket-powered skateboard. That would help. There we go. All sorted out. So what does he make it into, I wonder? Yes, indeed. Oh, it doesn't explode. I'm spoiled by the goblin zones. Ooh, a clockwork robot. Very nice, yes. I incinerated thousands of zombies in the goblin zones. What do you got, eh? It's not my recommended daily allowance of explosive slaughter. That, and I'm sure we haven't crashed anything into anything yet. I mean, goblins and gnomes are pretty much the same thing, right? Just one's green, one has bouncy ears. You see, this is why I took goblin engineering. Funny enough, engineering was my first ever profession back in the day. I was one of the 2 guild engineers. When we set up our guild, we'd done some work in the original beta. So, we were a clan. We used to play PlanetSide, and we used to play Counter-Strike together. So we finally got into WoW, we all organised ourselves around, and that's the story of how I became a mage, because I got in pretty late, and all the other classes were sort of overfilled. But since everyone absolutely loves to be a unique and beautiful snowflake, I decided to take the class that had the least. That was a mage. I wanted to play a shaman initially. Thank God I didn't do that, good lord. Nah, shamans are okay. They're like mages with sticks. It was the same thing with engineering. Nobody went with engineering. I decided to go there, and I picked Goblin. And you know what? I never, ever got the Goblin Bombling pet. Ever. It just never came with my membership card. I was very upset about that. It's probably what made me so cynical and jaded today. If only I'd got that Bombling, I'd be a happy and wonderfully pleasant individual. But it was not to be. Blizzard, you made me this way! Anyway, we're on the toxic airfield, and don't really see any flying machines. Perhaps what they really mean to say is it's a field filled with toxic air, which would be correct, by the looks of it. Nice simple kill quest, gets us a bag and a cape. Nothing wrong with that. I like the fact that they're giving bags at the start, considering the amount of junk that you end up picking up. Now, we don't really have to do anything with the bot other than lead it towards the pool. At which point it will spin around a little bit and clean it up. Wonderful. I wonder why I can't do that to the elementals. Here you go. Here's a new model for you. This is a brand new monster. It's a sludge. And it's a mean-looking critter. That's not the coolest thing about it. You'll see that a little bit later. So what we're doing is we are grabbing possessions from these sludges. And if you paid attention to the quest text, those sludges are actually melted gnomes. Now, personally, what I like to do with gnomes is melt them down and mix them into some kind of casserole. Heat for about 3 or 4 hours until tender. It's not too bad. I mean, gnomes can be a little bit chewy unless you reduce them down and make sure they've been boiled for a few hours. That one's wearing a hat, so we'll definitely have to kill it. There we go. This is kind of cool, because those are exactly the same items that you're getting from them. Funnily enough, only half of them seem to have it, and yet there's a 100% drop rate. Wouldn't it be kind of neat if only the ones that actually had those little hats were the ones that dropped them. Would that be a first for WoW? I can't really recall. I mean, can you think of a mob that dropped something it was wearing, and it was very obvious it was the same thing? There's most likely a few examples, but it's nice to have it in the starting zone. Makes it obvious as to what you're supposed to kill. Visual stimuli, always very good for today's gaming generation. Well, indeed, every gaming generation. That's coming from the person that used to play text adventures when he was little. God, those were so frustrating. Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy still gives me nightmares. Alright, I think we can speed the rest of this up for you. You'll also notice while fighting these guys that they put a little bit of a debuff on you. Splat. Yes, indeed. Doesn't do an awful lot, but I just like the fact that mobs that are like level 1 and 2 can dump debuffs on you. It makes the fight a little bit more interesting, even if they do barely anything. We saw the cats in the troll starting zone actually jump at you, and there are a number of debuffs that the mobs in that zone can apply. This is the same. Nothing wrong with varying up combat just a little bit. The combat system of WoW is functional. That's probably the best that I can say about it. It does its job, but if you make more interesting mobs, then you're going to keep people more engaged. Makes perfect sense. Alright, that's that dealt with, so let's talk to the fellow about these recovered possessions, see what he can do with them. This is kind of neat, you'll like this. Well, if you're a gnome lover, you might not. We'll see. Should be a good way to identify those in the audience so they can be rounded up. Yes, perfected the process. We absolutely trust the gnomes in perfecting anything. I'm going to take a few steps back now. I don't trust this at all. Oh, look. It's Flame Leviathan. Well, you are recomposed. You used to be sludge, and honestly, you looked better. But you're just going to have to deal with your newfound disability, that of being gnomish. That's the sound of 1,000 angry gnomes, furiously typing YouTube comments. How dare you, you mean bastard! Oh dear. So, I don't think he quite perfected it. Well, that's one less gnome to deal with. Nothing wrong with that at all. Keep up the good work, soldier. Right, we have a new ability. The Arts of the Priest. Does it explain exactly how the gnomes know the Arts of the Priest? Not really. The first thing we have to do, this is another one of these, hey, here's an ability and here's how you use it kind of quests. It's a reasonable way of teaching, but I still think my little video idea is better. But hey. Okay. So use Flash Heal on 5 of these. It's not very good, because you use it, and then their health falls down again. In some cases, at any rate. If all you need to do is just Flash Heal, then why didn't you do it yourself? Keeping them in force fields, making them suffer. I understand the concept of gnome torture, I really do. I just think it's very impractical. There we go, a green, fantastic. We got one of these in the troll starting zone as well. The Warlock, I believe I got one level 3 or 4. It's a dinky little stick. I think I'll snap in a light breeze. Oh well, +1 intellect, can't really complain. Now, what is going on over here? So we're heading over to a new area now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the video here, because this is a lot of footage. I don't want to upload it all at once, just in case it errors out or the processing goes crazy, so I'm going to make a cut here, and I will be back with part 2 very soon indeed. My name has been Totalbiscuit. This has been the first of 2 parts of the Gnomish starting zone, levels 1 through 5. I'll see you next time.